Good morning, this is Brian Whitten and ET Art. I wanted to make another video today to discuss a few things, but before moving on with that, I wanted to start with this today. This is Senator Bill Heffernan. He's the only senator that tried to have the removal of what is called the parliamentary pedophile suppression orders that were placed by the John Howard government many years back removed. There's the only person that's trying to do it was he. He was heckled and belittled and called a conspiracy theorist and whatnot, as much as I have said with and been spoken of in that manner in my videos. When I post them and comments I make, I get some comments back that are very much that, tin hat, foil wearing. I suggest you go and look at this if you think that what I'm telling you is in actual fact untruth. If you're 12 years old or younger, go get your parents if you would, or carer, and have them watch this video first before you watch it, please. But this is reality, this is true, it's real. It was put into place by John Howard's government. What we're going to do is discuss that is in actual fact still the situation, which is in actual fact protecting child rapists that have done and still do walk our halls of our parliaments. And John Howard protected it. So you want to call us a conspiracy theorist out here, go for your life, but get informed. The main reason for this video today was to touch on a subject. I will go back a little bit, but not far, and I don't want to waste time going where I've already gone. The cycles of Earth that it's made go clockwise around the Sun. And there's a 6,000 year cycle, which is the one we're in, this one here. This process is to change the direction of the planet and make it go anti-clockwise around the Sun. There are many people on our planet, not Caucasian races, we are not taught these things, of a time where there is no moon. It's not that there isn't a moon, it's when these cycles, the Earth is going this way, standing straight, and coming back this way, standing straight. The only one with the tilted axis is this one in here. And it's done when the moon is not here in these two cycles here. We don't learn about it. I'm a Caucasian person. The reason we don't learn about it is we don't live on Earth when this is going down. We can't breed. That's the problem. We breed and only breed in half of this cycle from 2,400 years ago to now. It's the only time that a greater majority of people on this planet now can be on here. That is what we've not been told. And you may laugh and scoff all you want, but I've had people from Egypt, people from Iran, I've even had a message sent to me by the elders of the Aboriginals that live in Australia here, tell me that what is on my channel is right, and they know of a time without the moon, because those people live on the planet when that situation exists, whereas us Caucasian races can't. There are other people affected in different ways, but that is what I wanted to discuss with you today. Not so much that, but the process and reason why all this happens is that they're moving the planet with people on it through different varying fields of magnetism of the Sun, and different electronic fields or different magnetic fields affect each of us differently. That is why we have to leave. We cannot exist beyond here. We're not the only ones. The South Americans also, when the Earth stands straight going this way, they cannot stay here. They can conceive children, but their children and the fetus does not survive. I'll do a quick insert now of a diagram. If you notice on the right hand side they've got all the UFOs. That's because they're saying they have to leave as well. It is not just the Caucasian races that are affected. I've also shown you this before as well, the cycle of the moon that I wanted to discuss. And in this instance, it's when the Earth stands straight in another few more years. I would expect it to be a few years, about 3 years. The moon is made move in and out. It's in sync with Earth, so if we're looking down on top of the solar system here, the moon goes around here as the Earth goes around, but it stays in line protecting the equatorial areas of Earth, so we do not get tsunamis driven by the Sun's very, very narrow portion of this horizontal plane. And what happens is the moon is pushed in and out here, cycling with Mercury and Venus being the driving force that makes the moon move in and out, as well as the spinning fields of Earth as well. What I wanted to mention, that we have two inner locations, but only one outer location. The one outer location is when the Middle Eastern races breed. And it's 4 months between each one of those, so they've got only 3 months of a year that the Middle Eastern races are breeding here, or the women are able to ovulate. The Asian people are different again. This only comes to the most inner once every 8 months, is when it's coming back into this point here. And this is when the Asians breed. And you could say, well, that's a bit unfair, but what actually happens here is the gestation period of the Middle Eastern races are 12 months long, not 9 as they are now. Whereas the Asian people are quite the opposite. They go 3 months in the other direction, and their period of time to be able to have a child is only 6 months. So in actual fact, it levels out the two races that do get left here. I'm not saying two, there's probably more, and I'm just saying that what we've learnt at this point. So this whole process here of this moon moving in and out here like this is to allow the races that do stay on Earth to still breed. We are going to get a lot of lessons from the people that arrive here, as without doubt. I just wanted to show you that that's actually what happens. They're varying fields. In this instance here, it's the sun's rays themselves that are allowing the Asians to breed, whereas in this instance, when the moon is closest, it's in actual fact allowing the Middle Easterns. So it's the Middle Easterns dependent on the moon, and the Asians dependent on the rays or magnetic fields of the sun to allow birth to take place. I'll also say, before I move on, once again to touch on this subject of the content of this script or parchment. It's not a parchment, it's actually a recreation of a temple wall in Egypt. When I've said to you that yes, that people know about the moon, there are societies or peoples that live across our earth that know about star people. Northern Egyptians, the Dugon tribe, the Hawaiians, the Aboriginal elders themselves know of, they know Uluru was not always there. It was placed there in their dream time, they say, by a big serpent from the sky. And more likely was. And they may have been reptilian. There is no doubt there are reptilian references on the river rocks. I won't get into that just at this present point, but they are definitely on the river rocks. But what I wanted to come back to this for was that this actually showed us this current cycle, the one that I just told you about, that does 16,000 years that way, 6,000 years that changes the direction, 16,000 years that way. That is in actual fact all of these men here. And this is coming up to being us. I'll zoom in here because this is very important. When we come down to this portion here, we're talking about a period of time of lessons, and then there was moving of landmass. And I don't know whether this is my 3 years. It's taken me 3 years since my first video went up, and I contacted the Prime Minister. I've been everywhere with this, I can assure you, but they do not let the Masons' secrets become known. They bring out a virus and a vaccine and want to sterilise the people that are not committed these crimes against humanity the way they have. So this is what you're going to see here, the moving of landmass and the management of the water here. To look what we're seeing here. This is exactly what this guy's doing, tipping water under here. He's floating the mass of land. That's what this is all about. I won't go into this because I've gone pretty much through this in a lot of my other videos. The reason I wanted to come back here is just to say that this is not just showing us the Earth cycle within a 88,000 year period. That's what each one of these men in these lines here are 1,000 years. There's 22 on each one. So we've got 88,000 years here. This is showing the outer ring of rotation. This is showing the inner ring of rotation. And this is us coming up to our 16,000 years going in an anti-clockwise direction with a straight axis. You can see that these lines here are being varied. They're being varied because they're talking about the tilt of the Earth's axis being modified as it's coming along here. But what I wanted to mention today, and it was the main reason why, is this part up here is a full solar cycle. There's 44,000 years represented in these first four. There are two 48,000 year cycles and one 65,000 year cycle. And if we total those up, we then work out that our solar cycle is 337,000 years. I've got 339 down here, but we've added 2,000 years since that calculation, so I'm pretty sure if you add that up, that'll be what it is. But either way, that's a solar cycle. So a complete solar cycle is this, and once again I will pay Abnu Nazar is the person that was responsible for this, him and his students that are in Egypt, students that he teaches. Like I said, the people, I've had an Egyptian guy make an effort to get through a train to talk to me again. He said, you spoke to me about things I didn't think you knew about. And I said, was it about the moon? And he said, yeah, we get taught there was periods of time without a moon. So that's what I mean. But this whole cycle here, and the solar cycle here, I thought, okay, well when that's finished, what happens? One other matter I wanted to show you today was, and we've discussed all this point, is what we're seeing in this crop circle was a star array. In other words, that the circles are, each of these circles, a different star in our galaxy. And I've discussed already, and I won't go rehashing too much, that at one point when the last time Nibiru came, in the middle of the cycle that I've just shown you, that 6,000 year cycle, in the middle of that cycle is the last time Nibiru came through the system. And it came from the south and went off in a different direction than it arrived. We've been told, in my opinion, by this inserted image, for this to happen, it was very, very unusual. It was above my house. The marks it left in the cloud were as far as I could see, and I could see a long way, both directions here, south and north. I can see a lot of sky. I haven't got an inhibited view. The marks in the clouds came all the way from south, around my house, above my house like this, and all the way back, and I could see the mark the whole time. Whatever it was came extremely quickly, but I've had these messages. I know it might sound stupid, but you would have to go through my videos to realise what's happened. But I would believe we're getting told here that the function of our star within this array moved from the function of a star being the function it performed in A, B or C to being one of the stars, either 1 or 2. And that would be the function that we're now going into. So in other words, our star system is in actual fact moving away from the centre here. It's moved from here to here to here, and now we're towards the end of that solar cycle that I just showed you. And that's why I wanted to come back here and to discuss that, because most of the reason for this video today was to say, okay, well, if that's where we are, I'll just expand on that. If that's where we are, what happens after that? You know, what happens when we look at that and you see the whole solar cycle having been complete? And then I realised, and that's why I wanted to come back today, because it was actually good news, in my opinion. I want you to stop and ponder where I started this video. Truly ponder that. We have a government in our country here that has made laws to protect pedophiles that walk our halls of parliament. They rape children, and yet our government protect them. I can tell you that the protection of that process is far, far, far deeper, and it's a lot bigger club than most people realise. It's a very, very sad thing to come to that realisation in a country you live in. I went out a long time ago risking my life to shut down far less than that, and in the end I've been the one that's given the right probably to solve these pyramids, all starting with this rock that I insert here. My son found this in a river here. You know, it's what led me to the pyramids. It's been the catalyst for everything that I've done. So I wanted to come back here because then I thought, well, I want you to stop and think and ponder now. All the people that said, oh, let's drop a nuclear weapon on Japan and kill 200,000 civilian people that had nothing to do with starting a war. The wars are always started by the leaders of the country. It's exactly why. They prey on the fallen, the children of the fallen on both sides. That's exactly what the most valuable resource of war is. Make no mistake. But anyway, coming back to something a little bit more, you know, understanding. You can understand why. I want you to think about once our star system's finished here. Imagine if you had people with that mentality, going off into an extremely advanced society where you had light speed, where you could direct stars. This whole process here of these stars and this path between them is Nibiru's path. It steers other dwarf stars using the mass within different fields of our star to direct Nibiru back to where it came from. In this case, it's going to come up towards us and go back in the direction it came from. That's how we'll know without doubt we're in one of these outer stars. So in other words, we're heading towards being a highly advanced society, but we're getting filtered as we go. And then I understood something. So I'm going to show you a couple of rock images and then we'll discuss why it is that's the case. But imagine, imagine having the likes of people like that want to rape children and eat little babies existing in a society with that sort of technology. It is a no-no. Now before I move on and show you that other, I just want to show you a couple of things here and say, there's references to river rocks. I make it quite, often. I've said to you that there's laser etched, there's information written on these river rocks, all of them, billions and billions of them. This was just one message. It's how I know they cut and float the landmass. It's at microscopic level, and look at this inserted rock. I strongly suggest you go and have a look at Cutting the Continents. It's a good video. I was trying to predict a date and I made the mistake of doing that, and I shouldn't. I should just say the gods are known when they're coming, and I actually think it's very soon. I'll show you some other things that make me think that. But there we see a period of time, and I thought this may be 3 days, it could be 3 months. I really don't know, but I'm certain we will get the lesson from those that come to do this. They will cut and float our landmass, and it looks to me to be that there's got to be a drift at the time this thing comes through. Once you get this in the better light, it looks like something going tearing up, flat out like that and back again. So I think that's Nibiru's pass, or this dwarf star. When it flies through the system, it compresses the fields of electromagnetic fields and stops this upthrust of Earth that we are told happens. I have covered that in my other videos, but I just wanted to show you that. I will show you this also. This is once again a microscopic image of a river rock. It told me here in South America here, and these two circles here are saying the bigger one of these impacts. I'll do the inserted image here again now. We've covered it many times. It hit in the bottom of South America, and that's got an arrow here pointing that way. I'll zoom in a little bit. Also has Roman numerals 4 here because I was able to work out the impact from there, what happened. In actual fact, it says 4, but when it has a dot above and dot below, I was later to work out that that meant 5. It made 5. 4 of them went one way, and 1 of them went another way. And that's what that meant. But you can also see here a little arrow here, and this bending of this line here is saying that this is the impacts that tilted the axis. Here, not that you can see it clearly here, but there's also Nibiru, a dwarf star there. The same rock that showed us this image here, this is what it looks like. We picked it up because it looked like a melted tin can. I one day realised, not long after I understood what Wilson's rock meant, which is one I've already showed you, I picked this up only a couple of days later. I thought this was always a chip on a rock, and then I had a close look at that, and it's not a chip on a rock, it's actually marked. It's got marks on it here. You can see it's sort of like a wave look effect. Look at this little thing here. Looks a little bit like a guy's face, doesn't it? Not just here. It looks a bit like a face. But the information that's on that rock has been absolutely amazing. And putting that under a microscope and shining the light from the sides is how a lot of this information is revealed. You do not see it. I bought a microscope that was worth $1,000, bifocal digital microscope. You see none of these images at all, none. You can't even shine the light in from the side and get any light on the rock. That also was discussed in a video I've got on my channel called Light. I wanted to show you that before I moved on, because I'll show you a couple of other images now. I show you these images because I want you to understand that this is on every rock I've picked up. Once you know how to find it, and once you can read the marks on a rock, to hold it at the right angle and point the light from the right angle, it becomes visible. I have posted a video with instructions on how to do that. It's actually, there's a few of them, but I think A History in Stone is one of them. That was long ago, before I grasped the concept of why it was all here. When we look at this picture, it's pretty easy to see this white woman standing here. She's even got blushed cheeks. Why? Because this bloke here, who's in the black, right there, his eye here and his nose here and his mouth here, is not very happy with this queen. And this is our queen. It's not the first rock it's on either. I found the very same thing, and she's getting dressed down by a 8-foot high reptilian, and he's angry as hell because she has not told the white people the truth. That's what's going down here. I talked to you about a vaccine that's going around. I reckon the vaccine's to sterilise the people that are not guilty of the crimes that these white people are. We do not all think that chopping up a baby or raping children is a reasonable behaviour. It's untold, and you could say, oh yeah, sure, how are you going to prove that? I've got that on a rock as well. I put this image in my last video, but I didn't say what it was. I just put it there and let you decide for yourself. First of all, we see this outline of this black here. It looks like a man's face, and he's looking down. If I vary the light slightly, you can even see a tear dripping from his eye. That's the man who's making a decision based on what's going down on this planet at the moment. But now I want you to stop and look what else you see in here. Up here you see another eye, and another eye, and a nose, and a man wearing a hat. And what do we have here in his arm, in his hand? You've got a syringe. That's exactly what that is there. He's thinking and sad because the outcome of the 3 years that you've had to do something about telling people, you've dealt with it like this. I'll tell you, this thing here that you're doing will be undone like that, and the only thing that you would have done is put yourselves back on that star in the middle. And I'll tell you, that's not a real good place to go. And the time is running out. And I mean, it may have run out already. I don't know. I'm not this man's making a decision. We see the 40 days and 40 nights that I told you about in my last video, showing us where? In the desert, in the middle of the Australian outback, from Uluru to this impact here, 666 miles, 40 minutes exactly. That's our 40 days and 40 nights, and that was what you had. You haven't got many of them left. Yet you still run round, and now we've got a Prime Minister making mandatory the injections to children. Oh my God. That's what that's there. This is your doctor, and this is his needle. And this man is pissed. He's sad because you've had that much time to do the right thing. Now, coming back to where I wanted to finish our video, and showing you, and the reason I wanted to go through a few of those rock images, you can understand that there is, it's a very, very complicated process to do such a thing. It is only visible under certain light conditions and so on. And I did say that I have learnt how to read the rocks and understand the marks on them that can get you to turn the rock the right way and shine the light in the right direction. This is one of the marks. You get a little question mark like this. It's very, very, very common. Then every time you actually see a question mark, you slow down with your light, stop moving it so quickly, and then try and work the image that they're trying to get you. And my question was that I said, at the end of the 337 solar cycle, what happens to the star once it's been past the process of 1 and 2 off the star array that I've shown you? I believe this rock actually told me. It took me a while to look at it and understand what the message was. But what I believe we're seeing here, and we were told, stop, have a look, question what you're seeing. And what I believe we're seeing here was the swirls of the arms of a galaxy. And when you get this, and it's really difficult to just do this in a still photo. Sometimes you'll do this and it is immediately evident with your light moving and you can see it, but actually freeze framing it and getting it so that you can understand it is not always as easy as one would expect. But what happens here is, I believe that when we see this and when I get it in the right light, we get a whole lot of buildings and structures. I'll insert a good image of this right here so you can freeze frame it yourself and have a look at it. But what you've got is the swirls here of the galaxy, and then there's buildings and structures here, but also up here there's a whole lot of other buildings and structures in here. It just looks like buildings, it's like a big city, huge, and it's beyond the galaxy. So what I'm saying to you, our nearest galaxy is the Andromeda galaxy, I believe. And what they're saying to us is, in actual fact, the whole solar cycle within our own star system here is just one part of the manner in which humans populate the galaxy. We have got humans everywhere. And not just humans, there's a whole lot of other people as well, but it's pretty hard to sort of put them into this cycle we've got at this present point in time. What they do is filter this behaviour from a modern, very, very, very modern, highly advanced societies. And you can imagine why. Imagine putting the power of the ability to steer dwarf stars and roll planets left, right and centre into the hands of people that would kill, like I said, 200,000 or 300,000 people with the wink of an eye and not give a rat's backside because they deem themselves as being more important than anybody else. And that is the end of why I believe this process is in place. It makes sure that that behaviour never ever gets beyond the boundaries of not just an area of space, but beyond the boundaries of a lack of intelligence beyond that. You know, these people have had years, I've been here for years on this channel, they know about it. The Queen did not leave her palace because of a virus. She's left her palace because there's other people, like I said, the lies have gotten more and more lies the further down our pyramidal structure of society exists. So I will say that, in my opinion, that's what we're getting told here. That it's just a process of cleansing as we populate the galaxies. Star after star after star. And if you divide the 337,000 years by the amount of stars in the outer portion, there are 6 outer stars. That must mean that roughly every 56,000 years or thereabouts, one of the stars becomes a binary system and drops out into beyond that array, and it becomes part of everything else beyond. That finishes up the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly ended it on a lot better note than we started, but that was the process to understand why it exists. So that's all from Brian Whitten and ETR today. Have a nice day. See you later.